Joe Flacco ignoring Lamar Jackson?
I do. And guess what, Skip? Do you remember the Ravens traded up to get Joe Flacco?
They did.
And they already had a quarterback in Kyle Bowler. That's not here.
Well, sort of. You could put quotes around it.
Exactly.
That was Kyle, I should have been a bowler. But
yeah, he should have been.
Yeah.
And what they're basically preparing for the future. Skip, when I was a young guy, I was a Z receiver. When I was at the Broncos, Mark Jackson, who was the Z receiver. Now, a lot of people outside of Denver might not know who he is, but Mark went out of his way to help me. Shannon, your stem, which means instead of pushing, to his outside, stay on more of his inside. Or if it was this or that, he would give me little pointers. Now, also, true story, Skip, I was in training camp. Now, the guy that had been there a year before, maybe 2 years before, I asked him what I had to do on a certain play.
Yep.
Guess what he told me, Skip? He told me the wrong information. I listened to it. I got it there, ran the wrong route. Coach asked me, Sharp, what the hell are you doing? What was I supposed to say? He told, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so from here on out, make sure I know what to do. I said, I'm going to take, if I ever get an opportunity or a position where I can help a younger player, I'm going to take the Mark Jackson approach, not the guy that gave me bad information approach. Guess what? Fast forward another 10, 12 years, Skip. Now I'm in that situation. We win the Super Bowl. You know what I did in the playoff, the plays that I made, Skip. They take Todd Heap with the first pick. I felt it was my duty to get Todd Heap ready to play.
Okay.
Joe, I'm not saying you got to get up on the phone, call, and text the guy, but it'd be okay. Hey, congratulations. I'm looking forward to working with you. And the guy asks you something, give him some information. But to take this approach, these guys, I mean, what I'm starting to see, Skip, and maybe it's just me, and maybe you can help me out. Quarterbacks do not have a problem as long as they're drafting or trading for guys or bringing free agents in, as long as they're there to replace someone else other than them. But the moment the quarterback, the coaches or the scouting department of the team says, you know what, I think we need to start planning for the future. I think we need to start maybe getting a quarterback ready. Now all of a sudden, well, they ain't tell me. I don't know why they got a quarterback. He's not going to be able to play. That's not your decision. That's not your concern. They're doing what's in the best interest of the team. I'm not saying, Skip, you got to have the guy over for study hall, but is it too much to call the guy? Is it too much if the guy were to ask you something, you try to pass along some information? It's hard for me to believe that Tommy Maddox didn't tell Ben Roethlisberger anything. It's hard for me to imagine that, Skip. So I just think I just think the way these guys are handling it. Well, I've always said this. I've always said the quarterbacks are the most selfish people on the football team. They just do a better job of hiding it. Everybody just scoffs at me. But when you play 14 years and you're around enough of them, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, I'm going to frame everything I'm about to tell you with the fact that you told me near the end of your career, around that point, when Todd Heap came on the scene, you could sort of see the end coming, right? Because your body's starting to break down. Remember, these quarterbacks today have to hear Tom Brady and even Drew Brees say, we're going to play until middle 40s, right? And it's driving these two crazy because you got a Flacco and a Roethlisberger who are saying, well, wait a second.
But there's no way, but Skip, looking at Joe Flacco's body of work, there's no way he's playing into his mid-40s.
Agreed, which is why the Flacco and the Big Ben situations are completely the opposite. Because I'm going to remind everybody, nobody thinks that Mason Rudolph is going to replace Ben Roethlisberger anytime soon.
No.
Nobody I know. Do you know anybody out there?
No.
And just for the record, the Steelers took Mason Rudolph's receiver at Oklahoma State in the second round, James Washington, and they took Mason Rudolph in the third round. So let's relegate it. Let's put it in that perspective. Why Ben is threatened by Mason Rudolph, I have no idea. It's paranoia. It's thin-skinned. I don't know what it is.
And they give you a weapon, Skip. You lose a weapon to Martavis Bryant, they replace him, Ben.
In the second round. You got the best deep receiver in college football in the second round. To Joy's point that she makes again and again, Ben is threatened to retire any number of times, so it's on you. It's self-inflicted wounds, right? Okay. Now, back to Joe Flacco. A whole lot of people think that Joe Flacco, the clock is ticking, and that Joe Flacco could be replaced by Lamar Jackson at midseason. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Because your man, and a guy I love and respect, Ozzie Newsome, traded up in his final draft that he ran for the Ravens, and he stole Lamar Jackson with the last pick in the first round, right?
Yes.
And silly me. Again, I'm thinking when the Cardinals moved up to 10 in the first round, I thought, is it possible they're going to take Lamar there? And then remember, Sean Payton trades up with the Saints to 14, and I'm sitting back saying, uh-oh, Sean Payton just got him a Lamar Jackson. Nope, didn't happen there. So I'm waiting. So it wouldn't have shocked me if Lamar Jackson had gone somewhere in the middle of the first round.
And then
you had him going.
I say somewhere. I thought somewhere like the Cardinals, maybe 15 to 23, because there was a lot of smoke about them going to New England at 23.
Okay, so the prevailing mood in Ravens Nation is no more Flacco, right? I've called him Fluco many times because he has been extraordinary in the postseason, but as you know, he has been below average routinely in the regular season,
Correct.
all right?
Yes.
And he was way below average last year because he was 22nd in QBR last year, 18 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, and the Ravens barely missed the playoffs, right?
And the year before, because did he get hurt the year before? But the year before that, Skip, he didn't play particularly well.
He did not. He hasn't played particularly well in any regular season. And to me, the Ravens, I think the locker room, I think the front office, and definitely the fandom, they're just ready to move on. So they can't wait to see their new toy on the football field because they got them a Lamar Jackson.
Right.
So, again, the threat is extreme for Joe Flacco.
Right.
And it's just like Ben seeing a ghost, man. Right. I mean, like, what? Mason Rudolph?
And you're right, Skip, but in the Steelers situation, they're tired of hearing, well, I don't know how long I'm going to play.
Okay.
Well, I think I might retire. But what these guys don't realize, Skip, it's not like a situation where you get a toy and you can take it back. Well, okay, I brought my son a puppy, and he doesn't like him, so we're going to take it back. Yeah, once you draft a quarterback, Skip, they can't give him back.
Nope.
So he's there. Whether you're willing to work with him or not, that doesn't change the issue. It just makes you look selfish.
I got it. But I cannot completely condemn Joe Flacco for effectively speeding his demise in Baltimore by mentoring Lamar Jackson.
How about this?
That's how it comes across to me.
How about this, Skip? Hey, congratulations. I'm looking forward to being in the meeting room with you.
That's classic.
That's too much?
Okay,
I'm not saying you got to have study hall with him.
Joe Flacco is haunted by this because he's been 10 years the starter in Baltimore.
Yes.
Remember, he went to school in Delaware, right up the road from Baltimore. And I just think he saw this as playing out where I'll be 15 years the starter for the Ravens and I will retire a Raven, and he can see the handwriting on the locker room wall.
But, Skip, you don't get to win one Super Bowl and says I get to retire a Raven. Look at the years that you've had subsequent to.
Agreed.
And before and after, Skip, as you mentioned, he plays tremendous once he gets into the playoffs. But there have been far too many times that he's missed the playoffs, and he hasn't played well in the regular season. Not one time has he led in completion percentage, yards, touchdowns. He hasn't gone to a Pro Bowl. He hasn't been first-team All-Pro. He's closer to the end than the beginning.
So, look, I admire you for wanting to help mentor Todd Heap, first-round draft pick who clearly was fast-tracking to take your job, right?
Yeah.
But, again, this is so much higher profile. This is the quarterback, and I'm sure there was some publicity, and the reporters are sort of watching how Shannon's mentoring Todd Heap. But it's not the story. This will become the story of Ravens camp, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard on Joe Flacco. He's a proud guy, and he feels like the Ravens done him wrong, and they've betrayed him, and they've just cut bait already.
The last 3 years, do you know who's been one of the highest paid quarterbacks?
He has.
Forget quarterbacks, one of the highest paid players. Skip, my thing is, I'm walking along and say, I didn't call him Todd, I call him Rook. Yeah. I'm like, Rook, what you got on this? If this guy does that, what you got on that? I'm just testing him.
Okay.
Because I want him to, Skip, it's a reflection on me.
All right. Now, here's my other issue with this. Let's look at the other side of both these coins in both Baltimore and in Pittsburgh. The only reason this has become a story in each spot is because the rookie has been willing to divulge everything that's been communicated or not communicated to the media.
Right.
And to me, I'm old school here, that's breaking an unwritten law for the rookie. That is what you would call dry snitching on your incumbent starting quarterback, a 10-year start that Lamar Jackson has to tell them. We wouldn't know this unless he told the media. I think it started in Louisville with the Courier-Journal. He would have to tell them, I've texted and called, and he hasn't returned any of it.
Question. They ask you, hey, Lamar, have you heard from Ben? Well, I'm not going to say whether or not I have or haven't heard from Ben Roethlisberger. What are we going to do from that? He has not talked to him. Mason Rudolph, have you talked to Ben? Well, what me and Ben may or may not have talked about is private conversation.
Okay, but then I wouldn't know for sure. If you said private conversation, which is what you should say, as a reporter, I couldn't write, oh, that indicates that Ben hasn't returned Mason
You can't
Rudolph's
say he can't say yes or no. Ben, have you talked? Mason, have you talked to Ben? No. See, that's the story. Lamar, have you talked to Joe? No. Even if he doesn't elaborate, now we start. Well, why? He's in an
Both of these
situation.
kids volunteered and elaborated for the
No,
media.
they would ask.
Huh?
They was asked. The
Okay.
media asked. That's what you do. You ask questions.
I'm dodging those questions. As a kid quarterback, I just think the protocol calls for you to nicely say thanks, but no.
Nah,
thanks
he
to
ain't
that
returned
question.
none of my calls.
Yeah.
And I know I got the right number because here it is right here. Yeah, see, this is the number right here, Big Ben.
Would you love that if you were a veteran tight end in that locker room and you did like your quarterback that you'd played with X years?
Like, call him.
Call
I
him?
should have told John, call Tommy Maddox.
Call Tom. I don't think you would have ever told him that because I don't think he would have ever done that.
No.
No.
He would have never done it.
No.
No, he would not have done it.
Well, Ben is definitely in a different position than Joe Flacco. Over the past 5 seasons, Flacco's thrown the second most interceptions in the NFL. 9-7, 8-8, 5-11.
But we good at quarterback. We good at quarterback. Hey,
Yeah, I think that's kind of out of your
Yeah, you're good with
point.
Lamar Jackson.
Right. Next up, the Cavs.